Hi everyone, I'm Moose, and like many of you, I just need to have my pop culture preferences validated by a big flashy award show. But when it comes to video games, we've never really recognized one ceremony as the end-all be-all for accolades. As the Game Awards enters its 6th year, we wanted to look at the various attempts to give games their own Oscars and see why the Game Awards has the best chance of succeeding. When was the first televised video game awards show? Why did Spike TV's embarrassing experiment last for so long? And how did the current Game Awards earn legitimacy from day one? This is how we got to the Game Awards. For years, games were seen as simple toys or distractions.
You really think you're ready for all that? I'm ready!
But as we recognized them as a bold new form of art, the next logical step was celebrating it. The first awards for excellence in gaming date back to the early 80s, like the defunct Arcade Awards and the Golden Joysticks, which are still ongoing. Resident Evil 2 just won Game of the Year last month. But as far as big, flashy, televised ceremonies go, we'd have to wait until 1994 for, and I swear this is the actual official title,
Cybermania 94, the Ultimate Gamer Awards on TBS.
Cool.
It's great. By 1994, the fourth generation of video game consoles was in full stride, and the PC had finally come into its own as a mainstream accessible option. So what better way to celebrate than to have a big splashy award ceremony hosted by Leslie Nielsen and Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Well, good evening, and welcome to the first live interactive award show in television history, Cybermania 94. Hey.
Broadcast on TBS from beautiful Universal Studios Hollywood, Cybermania might look weird and lame today, but this was all extremely hip for 1994. It's kind of like a Z-list carny version of the VMAs. Though to be fair, some future stars did show up, like Sarah Chalke, Will Arnett, Hilary Swank, and Matthew Perry. All at the stage in their careers where they clearly couldn't say no to their agents. But generally, the presenters just kind of seemed confused to be there. The biggest sin of Cybermania, however, more egregious than blowing up a computer in a fake Hillary Clinton's face, more disturbing than whatever this man is trying to do inside this giant balloon, were the awards themselves. See, in 1994, Japan was still absolutely crushing it in both quality and commercial success, but you wouldn't know it from watching Cybermania. The highlighted games were pretty much all Western developed. The only Japanese game that won was Capcom's Game Gear port of Aladdin, which, by the way, beat all-time classics like Link's Awakening and Donkey Kong 94 for Best Handheld Game. Super Metroid, which belongs on the Mount Rushmore of gaming, was only nominated for one category, Best Action Adventure, which it lost to Doom, which in no way is an adventure game.
You might wonder what I'm doing here.
More baffling is Cybermania's insistence on pushing CD-ROM as the next evolution in gaming. Remember Myst? Sure you do, it was great. Remember The Wacky World of Miniature Golf or Escape from Cyber City? The industry was all in on games as a multimedia experience, churning out dozens of forgotten bombs with grainy video and pre-rendered graphics, and they're all extremely overrepresented at Cybermania.
Hey, you! Get back to work or I'll take out my can opener!
Now, to be fair, the overall Best Game Award was actually voted on by viewers who could either call a hotline at 99 cents a pop or log into Prodigy and cast their ballot there. And the winner for Game of the Year 1994, beating out Doom, Myst, NBA Jam, and Super Street Fighter 2.
The Best Overall Game Award goes to
Mortal Kombat.
A game that released in 1992. The sequel was already in arcades when the first game won Game of the Year. Look, Cybermania is best viewed as a curiosity, a time capsule of the pre-PlayStation era where we didn't know how games were going to evolve. It only lasted one more year, and its organizers, the Academy of Interactive Arts and Science, went on to establish the DICE Awards in 1997. One of the most prestigious prizes in the industry today, but without any of the theatricality or pageantry of a big flashy awards show. Cybermania is garish and weird, blatantly commercialized with a ridiculous ratio of ads to accolades, but hey, so are the current Game Awards. That's just part of doing business, something their founder Geoff Keighley knows a lot about. 14-year-old Geoff got his start in the games press with Cybermania, writing one-liners for announcer William Shatner, setting him on a lifelong quest to create an award show that gamers could actually be proud of. Today, he's closer than ever to pulling it off, but it took a bumpy road to get there. So let's talk about the Spike Video Game Awards. Remember Spike TV? It's the Paramount network now, but back in the day, it was a TV channel by dudes, for dudes, all about the wonders of dudedom. So what better home to celebrate the medium embraced by all ages, genders, races, and creeds than a TV station exclusively devoted to the Maxim crowd?
Guys, you want some action? Wow. Enjoy a bit of comedy? Only on Spike TV, the first network for men.
It's not like there was a channel entirely centered around games at the time or anything. The first Spike Video Game Awards aired on December 4th, 2003, and the footage is pretty hard to find, but what we can tell you is that it was hosted by world-famous die-hard gamer David Spade.
Seeing and catching are two different things, a big boy.
And that in a field where The Wind Waker and GTA Vice City were nominated, the Game of the Year award went to Madden
NFL 2004.
Now, I'm not knocking Madden. Millions of people play them every year. My brother plays it. Your brother plays it. But it's not exactly pushing boundaries or aiming for artistic achievement. Unlike Cybermania, Spike's Game Awards would endure for a decade with a string of hosts including Snoop Dogg, Jack Black, Neil Patrick Harris, Shazam's Zachary Levi, and the cream of the crop, Samuel L. Jackson, who hosted a record 5 times.
Can you dig it?
Unfortunately, even Nick Fury couldn't elevate the Spike Awards out of their embarrassing mediocrity. Every year, they seemed to double down on what the so-called gamer demographic craved, while the games themselves took the back seat. Do we really need live on-stage teabaggings whenever a speech ran long? Was it absolutely necessary to establish an award for Cyber Vixen of the Year? Then awarded to Alex Vance from Half-Life 2, one of the only strong female characters in an era where babes like Bloodrain reigned supreme? As the years went on, the actual awards on this ostensible awards show took a back seat to awkward sketches and musical numbers. In 2011, only 3 awards were actually given out on stage, which certainly confused Mark Hamill and Tara Strong, who were nominated for their Arkham voice acting, attended the show, and sat through the whole thing in shitty seats, even though their category was never mentioned. The lad mag vibe of the Spike Awards might have worked in 2003, but as time passed, the gamer stereotype they cynically perpetuated grew thin, as the industry slowly realized that people other than cartoonish, monster-chugging frat bros played video games. In 2013, Spike tried to right the ship by rebranding the show as VGX, which stood for nothing really.
And I know you're all wondering what VGX means. It's the next-gen, next-level version of the VGAs. The VG stands for video games, and the X stands for Xenu, the one true god. Over to you, Jeff.
They took it off the air and onto streaming platforms like Twitch and YouTube, which was a fairly forward-thinking move that was completely derailed by host Joel McHale, who's normally a very funny person, but maybe you shouldn't host a show celebrating video games when you have nothing but contempt for them, the people who play them, or the people who make them.
Yeah, so far it's been the greatest year in games ever, right?
It has been a pretty amazing year. A lot of great nominees. We're actually going to announce Game of the Year very soon here, which is...
The cringeworthy ceremony was clearly the last straw for Geoff Keighley, the producer who got a start with Cybermania and joined the Spike Awards in 2006. Keighley was the face of a lot of humiliating shilling in this era, leading to his infamous nickname, the Doritos Pope. But he split from Spike with what remained of his integrity to spearhead the Game Awards. After the embarrassing disaster that was VGX, Keighley jumped ship to hang his own shingle on an awards show he could truly call his own. He partnered with Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, and most of the major publishers to fund and establish the Game Awards in 2014. Much like the VGX, Keighley's Game Awards eschewed traditional TV services for streaming platforms, allowing them access to a far vaster audience. Now, if you're starting a brand new award show, the first thing you gotta do is establish your legitimacy, your gamer credibility. Frank Drebin and John Madden weren't gonna cut it. What would cut it is, I don't know, say Shigeru Miyamoto and Eiji Aonuma personally revealing the exclusive first look at Zelda Breath of the Wild's gameplay. It was huge. It instantly cemented the Game Awards as a must-watch experience. From Hideo Kojima's banishment and triumphant return to spotlighting the business's unsung heroes and underrepresented talent, the Game Awards actually feel like they're about the games industry, not what a bunch of condescending suits in a smoky conference room imagine what gamers are like. The cringe factor is still there, but it's been dialed back, and the celebs they snag seem a little more genuine than Carmen Electra or Mike Tyson, who never even played Punch-Out!, his own iconic game, until 2013. Yes, there are still awkward moments where they speed through a bunch of winners and just kind of hand them trophies off stage, and yes, there's still plenty of advertising, although thankfully, the Gillette Robot Man is no longer welcome. But all those endless trailers and announcements are kind of what gets people to watch. I mean, everyone complains about the Oscars, but I bet a lot more folks would stay tuned if they dropped the new Star Wars trailer during the ceremony. Look, we've come a long way since Cybermania 94 and whatever the hell Spike was, and while the Game Awards may never be as classy as the Oscars, maybe they shouldn't be.
Okay, can you swear here? Can you swear? Okay. F the Oscars, you know? F the Oscars! You!
I mean, how would you fix the Game Awards? Make them more boring? Show an in memoriam montage of all the studios put out of business by massive publishers? Games aren't movies. They're not a 100-year-old medium that's been studied for a century. They're their own unique beast. And Geoff Keighley's Game Awards may just be the best representation of our weird, wonderful pastime.
And again, please give it up for every creator, and that is creators of games, creators of movies, creators of comic books, creators of every single thing that enriches our lives, that makes us believe that magic is real. All right, I love you all.
Thanks for watching, everyone. The Game Awards are just around the corner and the field is wide open. What do you think is going to win Game of the Year 2019? Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, Resident Evil 2, Death Stranding, Pokemon Sword and Shield. Leave a comment, let us know your pick, and as always, please subscribe to Now This Nerd.